Greetings, one and all! KayWhy is the name, and today, at least today when I post this, will be the 23rd anniversary of the release of Command & Conquer Renegade, as well as the one-year release of Commando, a C&C Fan Film. I had such a wonderful time writing this movie, shooting it with my friends, editing it together, and releasing it. And I figured I wanted to do something special for the one-year anniversary. So today, I'm going to watch through the whole thing and give a little bit of commentary on some of the behind-the-scenes stuff, as far as writing, pre-production, post-production, all that goes. Give you guys a little bit of an insight into the filmmaking process and the general creative process, really. So, let's dive in. All right, pausing pretty much immediately. So, first thing I want to say is a huge thanks to my friend CMD Bob for lending me this model of the tech center. This was originally modeled for Red Alert: A Path Beyond, where it can be found on the map North by Northwest. He did a wonderful job recreating this from the sprites, and it's just a beauty to see up close when you're in the game environment, but it was also perfect for this little short film. Now, as for the setting and time, there's a reason I chose this. So this is intended to be taking place around the tail end of the First Tiberium War. So GDI has already started making its advances into Europe, and they're closing in on the temple at Sarajevo. So this is pretty late in the campaign. In fact, this is supposed to take place shortly before the Scorpion Hunters, which is the first mission of C&C Renegade, which I'll get to that a little bit later. Now, as for the time, the time period in which the First Tiberium War takes place is the subject of some debate amongst the C&C community. Westwood originally intended it for it to be basically contemporary with the release of the original game, and they moved it up to ending around 2002, which is when Renegade first released. But there was a bit of a hiccup in the manual for Renegade. At least I believe it's a hiccup, and a lot of people believe it's a hiccup. That said, the First Tiberium War ended around 2020, which could very easily be taken as simply a typo, and it was meant to say 2002, which is when the game released, which would match up, which would make this First Tiberium War last from a nebulous period of 1995 to 2002. But some people have taken it as literal, and they've even pointed to some evidence in C&C 3, I believe. But the thing is, in press releases for Tiberian Sun, they stated that Tiberian Sun was supposed to take place around 30 years after the First Tiberium War ended. And we already know that Tiberian Sun takes place in 2030. It's one of the very few times that we've ever given like a solid date for something in the C&C universe in-game as to when something takes place. About the only other thing I can think of off the top of my head would be some notes that you can find in C&C 3, which are a little nebulous, given that they claim that the Tacitus was recovered by GDI around 2028, to my memory. And that doesn't line up with Tiberian Sun, which explicitly takes place in September 2030. And at that point in time, GDI still thinks that the Tacitus is a myth. But the only other thing I can think of is, outside of that, is Red Alert 2, where the Time newspapers at the end of the Allied campaign set the date at 1970. So, obviously, there's a lot of room for speculation. I personally subscribe to the idea that the First Tiberium War did take place in the late 90s and stretched a little bit into the early 2000s. Mostly because of the fact that that's what it was originally meant to be in C&C 95. That was what Westwood intended for the release of the original game. And in Tiberian Sun, the technology lines up, the aesthetic lines up. It feels like a late 90s, early 2000s sci-fi contemporary sci-fi romp, something along the lines of X-Files or Stargate, that kind of thing. And also the fact that like the technology leap from Tiberian Dawn to Tiberian Sun is so great that I genuinely think it makes more sense for that leap to have happened over a 30-year period rather than just a 10-year period. Meanwhile, technology from 1995 to 2020 remained effectively stagnant. So that's been my interpretation. That's what I went with. Just because I know that some people... I know that's an ongoing debate, and I just wanted to comment my opinion on it and why I set this film in 1999. Pause again. So, our Nod soldier... first of all of the Nod soldiers in this short, with the exception of the Black Hand Elite, which we'll get to, are played by me. It was just a simple fact of I was the only one who could fit in the uniforms in a satisfying manner, and we had so few of them it was just easy to put me in where I needed to be. But these uniforms are, in a way, the reason this short exists, because these are the soldier uniforms used by the Order soldiers in the TV series Dead Legion, which I starred in and was an executive producer on. The fact that we had access to these uniforms and the fact that I looked at these and went, these look kind of like non-uniforms, is what made me realize that I could do this, that I could make a short film and I could set it in the C&C universe. We've got the uniforms for Nod soldiers on hand. We had a ton of prop weapons on hand. About the only thing that we really needed to get in order for this to happen were a script and the Commando's uniform, which I'll touch on here in just a second. But basically everything else we already had on hand. We had locations, we had background plates, we had props, had my friends who are also actors and who were also producers on Dead Legion, who were more than willing to help me make this happen. And I'm eternally grateful for them. All right, pausing again. I'm pausing it a little bit more in the beginning than I expected to, just because there's a lot to talk about. So what I really want to address here is Logan Shepard. Now, why Logan Shepard? So Logan Shepard, for those not in the know, was originally slated to be the protagonist of Command & Conquer Renegade, back when it was originally being developed as being a lot more stealth-focused and a lot more of a tactical shooter, something along the lines of Splinter Cell or Ghost Recon, that kind of thing. Partway through development, there was a major change in direction for the game. It became a lot more of an action, more arcadey, so to speak, shooter, and they changed the aesthetic, they changed the gameplay, they changed the story, and they changed the protagonist to Nick Parker. But they still had Logan in the game, but he was relegated to just being the guy who gives you the tutorial in the beginning. Which means that Logan Shepard is a character with an interesting look that existed in the Command & Conquer canon, and yet nothing was ever done with him. He showed up as a tutorial figure in Renegade and nowhere else. And I always thought that was kind of a missed opportunity. But then when I started thinking about what I would want to do as a C&C fan film, I realized, hey, there's this character that exists and there's nothing being done with. So I can take him, I can do whatever I want with him, and make something interesting out of that. So that's why I'm playing specifically Logan Shepard instead of just some unnamed new original Commando. Oh, I paused at the wrong time. Let me go back a second. There we go. Okay. So here's a bit of insight into the movie making process and what movie magic can really do. So this shot right here was not shot at the same location as me coming around the corner or me as the non-soldier standing out there having a smoke. The reason is that when we shot my coverage as Logan coming around the corner and doing the rest of the stuff that he's going to do in this scene, we only had the location for a little bit. It was already at the end of summer, and we kind of ran out of time temperature-wise to use that location. So, and the location wasn't really that great for, it didn't have the backdrop that we wanted precisely, but it did have elements for the non-soldier, so that was shot on a green screen. And this right here was just shot out front of my friend's house. All of these three taken together, you probably would not have guessed it just by the way it's put together. And a huge props to my friend Nathan for the visual effects. But also just something as simple as we get all the shots that we need on location, and small pickups like stepping on the branch we can get later on as long as we have concrete. So that's a fun little insight there.
Oops.
Once again, like I said, I play all of the non-soldiers in this little short, including these two right here. Really hard to tell. Like I said, Nathan did a really good job with the visual effects. I just wanted to highlight that. And also, once again, to show you the power of editing, you can, if you know what you're doing with your lighting and your editing and your special effects, you can stab yourself and then run up on you alongside you to come to the scene of you stabbing yourself. It's really crazy how that works. Like, it made me appreciate the filmmaking process a lot more, knowing what really goes into doing all of this. And it also means that I have a greater appreciation for how they've been able to make more obvious double teaming into movies work, like The Parent Trap or Sonic 3.
I didn't order this!
One of my favorite tracks from the original game. Love it so much.
Rock
Frank LePackage just makes nothing but banger soundtracks, especially for C&C.
Eagle Base, this is Logan. I've successfully infiltrated the facility.
Excellent work. I trust you've kept casualties to a minimum.
Alright, so... Okay, I don't want to pause on my hand, but...
Ugh. Define minimum.
What is wrong with you? This mission is supposed to be top secret.
Okay, now that I'm not pausing just on a close-up of my hand, I want to talk for a second about Eagle Base, the voice that you hear, General Locke. He is voiced by my good friend, Owa, who many of you in the C&C community probably know as the lead producer of Red Alert 2 Apocalypse Rising, which is a first-person shooter mod for Renegade, puts you in the world of Red Alert 2, and after all this time is finally releasing this April. So get hyped and ready for that. But also, he does such a wonderful job as Locke. He'd done impressions of it just because we often quote the Scorpion Hunters just when sitting around and talking. Like, we pretty much quote the intro for that verbatim at least once a month. And first few times we did it, I noticed that Ben really nailed the voice of Locke. He's got that British voice for it. And I asked him to do it, and he was like, yeah, absolutely. He was more than happy to do it. And I'm eternally grateful. He does a phenomenal job as Locke.
Well, things kind of went sideways. Had to improvise.
This has become a pattern with you, Logan. You need to better assess your surroundings. Just get the intel. And try not to cause any more of a mess, okay?
Do not cup it up, Jim. Ugh, yada.
Pretending to be jammed.
Does he think I just got out of basic?
Love it.
Can't make sure there's no bodies for the guards to find.
Stay right where you are, GDI scum.
So that soldier, the voice was provided by my good friend Flamewheel, who is a really talented voiceover artist. He's got a YouTube channel, which I'll go ahead and link in the description of this video, where you can catch a little bit more of his stuff. But outside of this, he's done a lot of voice work for the End of Days mod for 0 Hour. He officially voiced the Enforcer in Tiberian Sun Reborn, and as a optional download pack, he voices Cabal, and he does a wonderful job at that. He also provided a voice for Dead Legion. I've worked with him several times. He's a wonderful guy, wonderful voice actor. And I do plan on having him be the voice of the Nod radio commands in Tiberian on Ground Zero whenever that releases. So I figured, hey, why don't we get you in early as the Nod soldiers for this little short film? And he was more than happy to do it. He did a great job. Always does a great job. Please go subscribe to Flamewheel. Go show him all your love and appreciation, because he deserves it.
Sure there's no guards to find the bodies. Everyone knows that.
That's pretty much how I always play stealth missions in most games. Can't make sure there's no bodies for the guards to find? Make sure there's no guards to find the bodies. Just... Unless I'm playing Metal Gear Solid 3. Not to go into spoilers too much, but going on a wanton killing spree in Metal Gear Solid 3 will bite you in the ass by the end of the game. If you know, you know. And of course, my friend Nathan, the creator of Dead Legion, an executive producer, and another star at Dead Legion, and also wonderfully talented editor and visual effects artist. He's the one that helped me tighten up the editing for Commando and C&C Fan Film. He did all of the special effects, all of the blood, spatters, enhancing all of the sound effects, all of the green screen backgrounds. Excuse me. All that good stuff is his handiwork. And here he is playing the one and only wholly original character in Commando, Dr. Halbert Miller. And he does a great job with it. In many ways, he is kind of meant to be an Otacon parallel, but only in the sort of back and forth that he has with Logan in this short film, specifically like Metal Gear Solid 1, like first meeting Otacon and Snake, kind of. But Halbert Miller is a character that I would love to bring back in some form eventually. His whole thing is that he is just a Tiberium enthusiast. He thinks Tiberium is really cool. He wants to get to the bottom of it. But he wants to make a name for himself studying it. So he's a little jealous of Dr. Mobius being like the one and only big name. And that's kind of what motivated him to sign up with Nod for Tiberium research. The other thing being a big paycheck. But he's not really on board with Nod's ideology. He just wants a chance to study this cool, weird substance from space. He's got a few other things that he's responsible for helping create, which we'll see later. But he's a great character, and Nathan does a phenomenal job playing him. Watch his facial expressions, particularly. Absolutely wonderful job. And the main reason why I cast Nathan in this role is specifically because the dynamic that he and I had on the set of Dead Legion was to the point where at least midway through shooting, if not like slightly before, there were points where we would just go back and forth in character, adding new stuff to scenes, adjusting the dialogue to be a bit more natural, and it was just on point. And you can definitely feel that energy come through here. There's a lot of things in here that either did not happen the way that they were scripted or were just completely improv by him. And every time he did something like that, it made it into the short film because he did such a great job and it all just fit perfectly. As I will explain momentarily when we get there.
You work here? Me? No. I'm just a tourist. Actually looking for the information desk. Want to know more about the local area, National parks, rock formations, secret nod bases.
One secret nod base in particular. What are we looking for again? An imaginary base. Quiet. Exactly. It's too quiet. Oh, my radar's acting up. It's this terrain. Like I said, we quote the Scorpion Hunters verbatim. That base that gets ion cannoned at the end of the first mission of Renegade is what Logan is looking for. Well, really, Logan's looking for a lot of locations, but among the intel that he gets is the location of that base.
That sort of thing. Okay. Yeah. You know what? I don't think I can help you. And, really? You probably shouldn't be here anyway. So, you might want to just...
Oh, by the way, forgot to mention, there's a very good reason why he's wearing a Jurassic Park shirt. That was something that I specifically asked, hey, do you want to wear your Jurassic Park shirt for this? Because, well, for one, we're not looking to make a profit off of this, so it's copyright is not really a problem. But also because it's a direct reference to the fun park missions that were found in the original game and you can still access in the remastered collection. So I figured that would be a nice little nod to the Easter egg in the original game. And of course, it's just a shirt that he had on hand. It's one of his favorite shirts. So nice and easy.
That's just on there now. Okay. You know what? On second thought, I can help. That would be greatly appreciated.
Like I said, one of the improvs that he came up with. That's just on there now. That was not in the script. He just said it, and it was gold. Comedy gold.
Right in here. Okay. That'll power on, and then I'll pull up whatever you need. Thank you. But I got it from here. Okay. Let's see where you are.
Okay. So, two things I want to point out here. Number one, this was done using OBS capture on my computer. A Windows 95 theme for Windows 10, which in hindsight, I probably could have gotten a lot better. I probably could have asked somebody for help in making something that actually looked like it was Windows 95. But this is the best I could do on what was basically a 2-day time crunch when it ended up happening. Because I saved this part for last. Because, well, I could do it while I was sitting here getting ready to edit. So what was the point? The taskbar down here was one thing that the 95 theme wasn't playing ball with, so I just copy-pasted an actual screenshot of Windows 95 and stretched out the taskbar, and you can actually see that the time will actually progress as the intel is being transferred, so keep an eye on that here in a minute. But what I really wanted to talk about here is the different folders, because there's a bunch of Easter eggs in here. So, tax returns 98. That is kind of a running gag slash joke within slash somewhat in joke within NT Films, which is the independent filmmaking slash production company that my friend Nathan owns. Basically, it's not actually tax returns in that folder, and that's all. I'm just gonna leave it at that. So, Anthrax Gamma, that's a reference to C&C Generals, because I wanted to have Easter eggs to basically all of the wider C&C universe branches in here. So, you got Anthrax Gamma in there. Mental Omega, direct reference to the mod for Red Alert 2, Mental Omega. Project Regenesis, which is the main plot of Renegade. That's the whole thing that Nod was working on. I'm not going to spoil the further details of that for anybody who hasn't played Renegade. But if you know, you know. Operation Labyrinth. Now, this one is something that I kind of came off with off the cuff. Now, Operation Labyrinth. This, I intended to be sort of Easter egg foreshadowing, more or less. Operation Labyrinth, at least in my mind, is referencing the global tunnel network that Nod is building, which would play a key role in Nod's operations come Tiberian Sun. So, this is an early start for there. TEOD 097, reference to the end of the days. Can't remember off the top of my head what 097 stands for, but I'm pretty sure it's referencing one of the units Flamewheel voiced. Unfortunately, I don't remember off the top of my head. Cold Weld Research. So, this is actually in reference to what somebody came up with during discussions as a possibility of what repair gun technology actually is. And the idea of it being cold welding, like basically just welding stuff together to fix it up without getting as hot as regular welding. I was like, that's a really interesting sci-fi concept. So I threw it in here, and I kind of decided that Dr. Miller had a hand in developing repair gun technology. It wouldn't be so much of a stretch to say that he might have even invented the damn thing, but at the very least, he had a hand in creations. So that's what that is. Tiberium analysis, self-explanatory. He's a Tiberium researcher. That's his primary job. Material distributors, that's just the different connections within the Brotherhood. Affiliate locations, that's where the intel that Logan is looking for is truly located. But it's hidden amongst a whole bunch of other stuff. And the idea is that if you look at that particular folder as the crow flies, you would see a bunch of regular businesses and organizations and locations that are affiliated with the Brotherhood of Nod. Stuff that's not suspicious off the cuff, but there is some stuff hidden in there as to some locations that are a bit more top secret, so to speak. Stuff that actually is coded in case you manage to get through there. But Logan is not going to take the time to sift through all that and try to find just the classified stuff that he's looking for. Genesis. Ugh! This is going to take forever. Just copy everything. Over 300 items. Yeah, this was basically me taking a lot of stuff on my desktop and on my storage devices, compressing them together into these folders so that they would just look like random folders of stuff that I could rename to whatever I want, and then just copy them to an external hard drive. And the fact that he copies everything is actually what causes the climax of this to happen. If he had taken a little bit more time to search through these folders to get just the good bits of what he's looking for and ignored some of the other stuff that's basically bloat, he would have gotten out of here a lot quicker, and he wouldn't have had to deal with the finale, so to speak.
Now, we wait.
Did this just for the visual gag of smoking with the no smoking sign behind him. Which I still think is funny as hell. There was a comment in the original broadcast, in the original premiere broadcast for this, that suggested this time could have been used to show a squad showing up to like build tension. But really, I wanted this scene to be less about tension and more about relief. Like, this is a funny bit. You're supposed to laugh, look at this visual and laugh. You're supposed to laugh at how long it's taken. And then in the next conversation, you're supposed to go, oh, maybe waiting around this long was not the best idea.
Installation complete.
Hey, Dirt. Morning, sunshine. Thank you for the help.
Yeah, I'm gonna be concussed. I'm gonna be very concussed.
Another improv from Nathan.
Sorry about your noggin there, but couldn't risk you raising the alarm. No hard feelings, right?
It's a little late for that, don't you think? You got into a gunfight. I mean, it was pretty loud. There's probably already a squad on their way here.
So this one was not improv'd on the spot per se. And this is a good insight into how you could help fix writer's block at certain points, especially for something like this where you know who you're going to be working with and you know what the general story is and you just need to fill in a gap. This line is something that I had no idea what to do with for a little bit. I was stuck on this one specific line. It was so frustrating. And so I asked Nathan to just sit down and we just do this little bit in character as Logan and as Dr. Miller. And I gave him the scenario and then I just told him, sorry about your noggin. Couldn't risk you raising the alarm. No hard feelings, right? And then he just came up with that, and I was like, okay, that's actually perfect. I'm going to write that down. And lo and behold. So that's a good way to deal with writer's block if any of you ever encounter that, is to just get some insight, maybe get a little bit into character, and improvise based on what you do know. You might come up with something great.
Damn it. You do this stealth thing a lot, or?
Another improv.
well.
Probably my
Maybe it
favorite
is.
one.
Holy shit, is that?
You bet your ass.
Well, be careful with it.
My orders were to leave no trace, and the only way I can do that now is with judicious application of plastic explosives. So, yeah.
This C4 prop is the prop that I'm most proud of because this is one that did not exist before making this short film. What it was just a keypad that we had used several times in Dead Legion, but with it had like a little thing on it to act as a card swiper. We took that off, and then I just stuck the keypad in a block of clay that I got from an arts and crafts store, and C4. I was originally going to add some wires to it, but once I started there, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to go through the trouble of finding some wires. That already looks brilliant as is.
Might want to skedaddle. Feel free to scream a bit so they don't interrogate you. Deuces.
Scream? Help! Intruder! Help!
Direct reference to Command and Conquer Renegade, specifically the mission in the chateau. This is what the servants at Ravishaw's mansion will scream whenever they see Havoc. And there, it's just a simple, help! Intruder! Help! And I figured, you know what? This would be perfect to throw it into as a reference. But of course, given the context of the character and Nathan's wonderful acting, it doesn't feel like something that's just shoehorned in to get a reference in. It feels like something that fits perfectly. But if you get it, you're like, eh. Whistling along to Just Do It Up. I do that quite often when playing C&C.
Looks like this is mission accomplished.
Failed. Logan shot.
And now we meet my wonderful fiancée, Shotaraya, who you may know from my chats and my Discord, as the one and only Black Hand Elite. She played a very similar character to this in Dead Legion. And she did a phenomenal job in that show. Especially just acting with her body and with her voiceover as a pure, intimidating force of nature. And I knew immediately that I would want her to fulfill a similar role as the Black Hand Elite, and she just knocks it out of the park. And she did an absolutely wonderful job. She is exactly as intimidating as a Black Hand Elite should be. And she's very much a no-nonsense character, which makes her a perfect foil for a Logan. She's just there, straight to the point, but also she's going to enjoy the violence. Specifically what she's about to do.
Shepard, we meet at last.
Shepard? Where?
One of my favorite bits from Fairly Odd Parents. This is a really off-the-cuff reference, but yeah. TV's Adam West. Where?
Don't play coy. I've been looking forward to this for a long time. Now, on your knees.
Is this the part where you shoot me in the face? You had a perfectly good...
You're in no position to bargain. Besides, I don't just want to kill you. I want to see the light leave your pathetic eyes. Any last words, GDI scum?
I've got a present for you.
Had to get the classic line in. That was the perfect moment. Wonderful, wonderful destruction effects by Nathan on this. Look at that. That's beautiful. All right. Now, this fight here in the woods, this was done on green screen. But we did actually intend to shoot this in the woods, and we got one shot that did not make it into this film. What happened was it was mid-fall, starting to lean into winter, so it was basically the last day that we had in order to get this fight in as far as the outdoor environment goes. Some of the crew were already a little sick, so we just wanted to get it done quickly as possible. But we got that one shot. Then we heard some rustling in the bushes next to where we were. And then as we were setting up for the next shot, we heard this almost blood-curdling, animalistic scream and growl from the bushes next to us. At which point we said, okay, we don't know what that is, but we do not feel safe out here. So we just packed up and we left. We were like, you know what? We're just going to get the fight on green screen. We can make it work. It's not worth potentially being attacked by a cryptid. And speculation with some of our friends later, most likely what we heard was something getting attacked and killed by a coyote or a bobcat. Could have been like a neighborhood cat, could have been a squirrel, could have been a raccoon. We don't know, and we never wanted to find out, but we definitely did not hear something pleasant go down. And we were not sticking around to find out, and, you know, I don't think anybody would in those circumstances. We were like, you know what? We'd rather get this on green screen and know we're safe then try to get it on location and risk being attacked by whatever the hell is in the bushes, like literally 6 feet that way. I told her to reload her arms like Henry Cavill of the Mission Impossible trailer, and she nailed it. My choreography is pretty much unchanged from the script based on what we needed for the shots. We just had a... different lighting situation, basically.
I expected more from you. Impudent, sloppy, and those gaudy colors. Even a blind sloth could track you down. You're a pathetic excuse for a commando.
Yeah, you got a point there.
I'll pay close attention to about right
I am
here.
pretty shit at making sure that there's no bodies for the guards to find. Oh.
Yep.
Want to know the thing I excel at more than anyone else?
I don't know how obvious it was in the original short for people watching it for the first time, but he intentionally let himself be thrown on the gun, and he had it at the ready. This is Logan deciding to survey his surroundings a little bit better, because this whole time he's just gone in, guns blazing, not really thinking about anything, and it's made the situation a little bit worse for him every single time. If he was a bit more careful in attacking the soldier at the beginning, he wouldn't have alerted the guards and caused that whole fiasco and basically had to mow down everybody in the facility with a firearm. If he had taken his time to look into the folders a little bit more closely, he would have gotten just the time-sensitive information, and he would have gotten just the mission-critical information. It would have taken nearly as long to download, and he would have been gone. And if he hadn't been gloating at his handiwork while waiting for extraction, the Black Hand Elite wouldn't have stuck up on him. He did make a good decision in waiting for the right moment to activate the explosive so that the shockwave would knock her off balance, and that would give him an edge. But then he just kept going willy-nilly trying to stab her instead, and he kept getting thrown on his ass. So finally, he takes a second to critically think about his situation and what to do, and it lets him win the fight.
Making sure there's no guards to find the bodies. Eagle Base, me again. Secured the intel and left the facility. Moving to extract.
Good work. But please tell me you left no evidence of your tampering with their network.
You could say that.
So, yeah. His orders: get in, get the intel, leave no trace that he was there, if possible, or, if necessary, make it clear to Nod that this was not a mission to grab particular intel. By placing the C4 as the by using C4 as the plan B, it made it look like a standard demolition operation rather than an intel snatch and grab. And that was Commando, C&C Fan Film. I'm still proud of this. I'm really happy about it. I'm glad so many people enjoyed it when it first came out. I hope people continue to discover this and enjoy it. I hope my commentary here offered some interesting insight into the filmmaking process and also the writing and everything. Good memories. Good memories. I had a great time.
Great shot. Return to base immediately.
I would have liked to eventually do another film in the C&C universe. If I ever do a direct sequel to Commando, I would like to do a feature-length thing. I already have some ideas on what I would do with it as well. I know I would try to feature other pre-established characters such as Gunner and potentially Havoc himself, if possible. Other than that, I would like to do maybe some stuff within the Red Alert universe. Maybe a couple other short films set on different points in the C&C timeline. I might have something like that in the works coming out soon. More info on that later, but for now, this was still a wonderful experience. Loved every second of making it, and I'm so happy that everybody had enjoyed it as much as I did. So, all right, well, gonna finish out the Renegade Anniversary continuing streams on twitch.tv/killingyou. After that, gonna get back into making the Half-Life videos. I got another hybrid for the Hybrid War in the works. This one's aquatic because Goji Guy threw down the gauntlet for that. And I have started the earliest bits on the next installment of KayWhy Should I Play, which will be Tiberian's Son. So keep an eye out for that. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel and everything, which I'll mention in the outro, actually. So, but for now, but yeah, so that's all to come in the future. But for now, that's all there is. There ain't no more. I will see you next time. Commander, you've reached the end of the video. The names you see on screen right now are my wonderful supporters on Patreon. If you would like to join their ranks, there's a link in the description below where you can support the channel for as little as $1 a month. But please, only do so if you are comfortable. Otherwise, you can subscribe to the channel and ring the bell so that you can get notified the moment a new video releases. If nothing else though, just you being here is greatly appreciated. Thank you.